It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and President Muhammadu Buhari, at the start of the 2022 National Economic Summit in Abuja, proposed a number of strategies, including increased investment in youth sector, just to put Nigeria on the path of steady growth and stable economic outlook. The president was represented by the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and also there was emphasis on the need for increased productivity, value addition across various sectors of the economy in order to create more jobs for Nigerians, particularly the youths. That's the concern. So increase in national revenue for further development seem to be the major concern. The presidential address focused really on key issues to drive growth, prosperity, such as the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and the impact of the Economic Sustainability Plan, among others, on the summit. Of course, the theme for the summit is 2023 and beyond, priorities for shared prosperity. Now, joining us this morning is Dr. Peter Ogundoro, who is an education research and leader of the Nigerian Teachers Online community of over 470,000 members. Peter Ogundoro, I hope I got that correctly. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to join you. Good morning.
Yes, so let's get straight to the emphasis, the fact that the president had talked about the National Development Plan, which is, just a strategy to ensure that we achieve a lot in our country. Do you think that the National Development Plan is another, talk on paper?
Well, I'm not one of those who condemn everything that comes from those who run the government machinery. I'm a researcher, and I like to work with the facts that I have at my disposal. I think the government has good intentions, but the truth we know is that good intentions alone do not develop countries. Most of the time here, our plans are not grounded in evidence. And so that's where I have my worry, because most of the time you hear about government saying they are going to create 1 million jobs, 2 million jobs, 3 million jobs. I think they are forgetting the fact that the fertility rate here is very high and our population is growing at a phenomenal rate. As we all know, especially those who follow trends, by 2050, Nigeria will become the third most populous country on earth and would have overtaken several other countries. We are number 7 at the moment, but just a few decades around the corner, Nigeria will become number 3, trailing behind only India and China. So if we're adding about 6 million children to our population and we keep, handling development the way we're handling it, I'm not sure that we are going to be able to provide a good quality life that every one of us seems to be desiring, especially with government leading the drive. I'm not very optimistic that we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, but one of the issues on the National Development Plan is about poverty alleviation. Just as every other plan, Vision 2020, what of you, 7-point agenda, the list is almost endless. To ensure that 35 million Nigerians are lifted out of poverty. 2021, this is 2022. Do you think that we have been towing the path? Are there any actions from the government or policies to point that we're headed towards that direction?
Not much evidence is there for us to rely on to confirm that that is the case. We all know that more people are impoverished today than we had even only last year. Hunger is ravaging. Pervasive poverty has become one of the threats of our country. And I know that education is the bedrock of development, and we have not got it right there. For about 8 months, all public universities were shut down. And we know that that is where the ideas that drive societies are generated. And so if you continue to ignore the place of education in national development, you will also continue to reap the benefits of that neglect. And so we are not doing well as a country because we haven't got it right with respect to education. So when you talk about empowering the youth, you can't empower the youth without making the education system functional. We are not teaching well. Our lecturers don't have the right ideas because we are not exposing them to the international arena where they can interact with their colleagues and learn new ways and new approaches of teaching. So while we are producing young people who come out of secondary schools and universities with certificates they cannot defend, and in the absence of the right knowledge and skills, especially in the modern society, we will continue to have high levels of unemployment, and our youths will continue to look for money in the wrong places. So we worry about insecurity, we worry about the Yahoo system, we worry about miscreants who disturb us in the streets. And the reason why all those problems are there is certainly because the youths haven't got the skills to engage in productive activities. And the reason why that is the case is because our education system is not functional. I just returned from Finland, where I went to do some investigations into how they have succeeded and producing the best education system in the world. And what I have discovered in the course of my investigation, interacting with leaders of the education system in Finland, is that the politicians there have seen education as an investment rather than a cost. In our country, education is seen as a cost rather than an investment. And until we are able to get our philosophy right in terms of where we see education, our mindset, our understanding of what education can do for society, I do not think we are likely to get off the ground. So more trouble is looming, and I can tell you that more youths will drop out of school because their parents can't even afford to keep them in school. As we know, over 20 million young people in this country are out of the school system, and more of them are going to drop out of the school system because of poverty. So in the face of all of this, I'm not very sure that the politicians are saying things that they mean to do. They're probably telling us things that will make us give them our votes again. And once the votes keep them in power, they will continue to have a field day.
I wish we had more time to talk about, some of the high points of the National Development Plan in terms of diversification, what have you. But really, generally, do you think that emphasis should be on, investment in youth sector to ensure economic development? Or we should be looking at, developing the entire country as a whole?
Yes. Well, when you say developing the entire country as a whole, there are procedures for development. I studied international development in England, and I know that every society that has moved forward started by investing massively in education, because it is education that generates ideas that helps all other sectors, all other industries. You need manpower to create the right templates to build the roads you want to build, to generate electricity. Here, you know that for many years we have continued to struggle with respect to generating electricity, and until you fix those kinds of problems, you will not be able to get off the ground. Now, you cannot fix those problems if you don't have the right manpower, to think properly and to galvanize the energies of young people, so that we can all move in the right direction. We know that. On a general note, most people are most productive during their youthful years, and that shouldn't be difficult for us to understand, because that's when your energy is at its peak. And so if we don't give them the right knowledge and skills at the time that their energies are at their peak, then we will continue to behave like ostrich who dips his head in the ground, hoping that by the time he raises it, all the problems would have disappeared, only to discover that problems don't disappear just because you wish them away. You have to follow systematic approaches to solve problems that confront you as individuals, as communities, and of course as countries. So far, not so good for Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Ogundoro, for being part of the show this morning.
It's my pleasure.
Well, Dr. Peter Ogundoro is an education research and leader of the Nigerian Teachers Online community that has a massive following, over 470,000 members right here in Lagos. We're talking about Ikeja. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you also for being part of the show. We'll definitely return tomorrow with The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. If you missed out on any part of the conversation, it's all right to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel is at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. My name is Messi Epoko.